Hello, welcome to another edition of Hobby News Daily. I'm Danny Black, and today I'm joined by somebody who you probably know, Nat Turner from Collectors. What's going on, Nat?
Hey, Danny. Thanks for having me.
Well, yeah, no, thanks for being on. I introduced you as Collectors, not PSA. I want to be correct in this. Uh, for those who don't understand the difference, can you give the elevator pitch on what Collectors is?
Yeah, Collectors is a holding company in the hobby. We have 5 or 6 businesses under it. PSA is the probably most relevant for today. We also have PCGS, which is our coin and currency grading service. We have WADA, which is our video game grading service. We have Card Ladder, which is card analytics. We've got Golden, and so on. So it's basically and we have a president of each of those businesses. That in case of PSA, it's Ryan Hogue, and I'm CEO of the kind of parent company, if you will. So
Sure. So I know you travel pretty, back and forth between coast. Um, where does the New Jersey office stand? Is something as somebody in Baltimore who hates
yeah,
paying for shipping and wants
yeah,
everything back in a
yeah.
day? Any hope that we're seeing that at full scale anytime soon?
Yeah, it's actually I'm there every day. I'm in California right now, but when I'm in on the East Coast, that's where I work, and it's full scale for us. We're at uh, close to 200 employees. I want to say we're doing close to 10,000 cards every day grading. But the way it works is the cards mostly are shipped from California to New Jersey, and that is silly. I'm the first to admit it. The reason we do that is the type of cards that we're comfortable grading in New Jersey is not the same as California. It's a smaller segment of those. It's really dependent on kind of who the experts are and graders that we were able to
Sure.
base out of that office. So we pick the cards in California and ship them there. However, we just launched our new online submission center, last week, and it's awesome. One of the things we're going to be launching soon is the system will predict if the cards that you have are eligible to be graded at either office.
Huh.
And if you live in Baltimore, it'll smartly say, "Oh, you're closest to New Jersey," and it'll give you a prepaid shipping label, and you can ship directly to the closest office.
Well, I think that's something I've been waiting for. So I personally and selfishly excited by that.
Yeah,
The new submission center is also pretty cool. I've got a wall of one touches up there. I'm waiting to convert into a wall of PSA. And so I had a bunch of questions over the years, and I'm sorry if you've been through interviews and I missed the answers along the way. But I want to talk about fingerprinting the cards. I know this goes back a year or two, but I just, I haven't heard an update. I don't know if every card's being fingerprinted, how that affects resubmissions, if it does at all.
yeah.
Um, and where does that stand in kind of the workflow right now?
It's still in the R&D phase. We have not rolled out into production automated fingerprinting of cards. However, we do manual fingerprinting of cards. So if the card is serial numbered, we are logging that serial number manually. And if that same serial number and that same spec ID is resubmitted, and that's more of a quality assurance thing. Like, we don't want to grade 2 of the same card. That's the primary reason. But that's it. So basically, but we do have ambitions to know if a card has been resubmitted. The reason is that cards can be altered, upon resubmission. Now, a lot of them are harmless. You bought it raw. You have no idea it was graded, 10 years ago, and boom, you all of a sudden submit it to PSA. That's, and most of the cases are that. But in the off chance that there's a nefarious person who's cracking out an 8 and trimming an edge and resubmitting, we want to be able to have a before and after photo that we can trust, to compare against, certainly with kind of cards that are known to be targeted for that kind of stuff. Do I care about your Baker Mayfield 2019, Prism rookie? No one's touching those,
That's not keeping you up at night, Nat.
But we do Jordan rookies. Like there's a lot of shenanigans that go on, and we're just trying to provide as much information as we can to the graders at the point of time when they're grading the card. So
I love the fact that shenanigans is an absolute hobby word at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know how Merriam-Webster's adds a word to the dictionary every year?
Yeah.
I think we should have hobby terminology. Every year we seem to learn something new.
Yeah.
So you started as a collector and a dealer as a teenager? Because I did as well. And if I remember, it was back in like a mall or a VFW or a hotel basement. It was nothing real sexy. Was that kind of your experience?
Yeah, I was in 5th grade when I started displaying at local card shows. My dad and I made a wooden, with a plexiglass door in Houston, and it was the hotel ballrooms, local shows, probably 30 to 50, tables. And then I did once at the George R. Brown Center down in Houston. It was a TriStar show. I think it's still going on, actually. That would have been like 1990, 1997, 1998, 1999, somewhere in that range. Yeah. And I was also pretty prolific on eBay at the time. I was probably doing most of my card buying and selling on eBay. This would have been like late 90s. Yeah.
No coincidence that you're a 90s basketball collector with that timeline.
Yeah. No, I do. I can picture the ballrooms of these shows. And like, I remember where in the room the guy was who always had the wax and like had he always had the great Topps products, Topps Chrome and Finest. And then,
Sure.
Like I remember the prices on the boxes. I remember everything.
I'm a couple years older than you, so I lived off the 1989 Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah. I was a little after that. Yeah.
Well, as you know, there's no lack of them, and I must have had 100 in my case. And I remember I could go to a show and sell out almost all of them. The popularity of that card, I think it's the Mickey Mantle for another generation.
Yeah, Nat, I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to ask is the volume of grading. People talk about the pandemic, the rise in cards coming in, but I actually think that trading card games has had as much of an effect on the volume of grading. Is that about half the grading market right now? I mean, how much impact does that have on you guys as far as your work operations?
Yeah, it's very significant. It is not half yet. It's actually kind of plateaued around like 38% of our volume.
Okay.
And that's trading card games in general. But Pokemon's like, I want to say 85% of that 38%. The rest being like Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! And that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's very material. Now, if you go to our Japan office, it's like 85% of their volume.
Sure.
Yeah, but in the United States, it's sports is still. But it's interesting. Pokemon by itself is bigger than any sport by itself.
That's what I would. Yeah.
Yeah. So like baseball is our biggest sport, but Pokemon's bigger. So it's pretty interesting, and we're seeing that internationally too. That like Japan's like roughly every country outside the United States except South Korea, weirdly, is like 85% Pokemon as far as grading submissions.
Well, as my son, who's a diehard Pokemon collector and is a loyal PSA, or also, he will be happy to hear that he's well represented.
Oh yeah, no, it's. I mean, our grading team in this office, which is right behind this door, the Pokemon team. I mean, it's our biggest growth area for grading too, for talent, for graders. We basically started to specialize a few years ago. We started special because we just started getting so much of it, and the counterfeiting is pretty interesting. It's different than sports cards. The stuff you have to watch out for and know. And so we've really kind of specialized that team. So
that was going to be my next question is I know you try to, if I'm correct, and please if I'm wrong, let me know. People are trained multidiscipline, but they have a specialty. A lot of the graders.
That's right. Now we have like a general team,
Okay.
guys and girls who can grade any card, and they're tend to be the more senior graders. But if you're a relatively junior, like say you've only been here less than 5 years, you're probably going to be in a specialized section. No, that's not tried and true, but it really depends on what you're interested in. I mean, a lot of our graders are card collectors themselves and experts, before they got here. And so, if you're we have some TCG graders who, I mean, before they came here, they were massive Pokemon collectors. And so, it really depends. Yep.
Well, I would assume Pokemon, I saw somewhere just hit 25 years.
Right, 99 yeah.
So if you were a kid growing up, you're now in the workforce.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. 1959 tops. Yes, I'm a vintage collector at heart. All this other stuff is just being polite. Why that set? I not that I want to pick on it, but it gets mixed reviews aesthetically occasionally. What turns you on about the 59 set?
Yeah, so for me, I love cards. So the sets I'm doing, and I've realized this about the sets I'm doing. So I'm doing I'm doing 70 of the vintage. I'm doing 75. I'm doing 59. I started doing 58. And what do those three things have in common? You would know.
58, 59, 57, 58, and 59?
No, 59, 58, and 75.
The color?
Yeah. So the you have these vibrant color changes when you across the sets. And whereas you look at like 61 or 62 or 63 is different, but it's more just the logo and the name. But like the entire card is different depending on the player. But there's themes like Bob Gibson's pink and Mantle's red, but I just think and 75 is the same way. Like it's just so colorful. And 58 with the color blocks behind like the background. I don't know. To me, I love colorful cards. I always have. And 57's boring. I love 57, by the way.
And that's hysterical because I'm doing the 57 set. I'm not holding that against you.
Yeah.
I like it for like every reason you didn't mention.
Yeah. And by the way, like it's just a personal thing. Like,
I love the first year photography. I love the career stats. I love the standardized size.
Totally.
But that's my brain.
Yeah. And like, by the way, my favorite Bowman set is 54.
Yes.
So I love 54 Bowman. The design, the cursive facsimiles. I mean, that's such a beautiful, and they're the imagery they use. I love 53 Bowman color, which are similar to 57. I mean, different, but you know what I mean, like more photography. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Just the colors of 59 have just always popped to me. And for me, it's nostalgia. Like I wasn't born then or around then, but my dad was born in 58, and he had he would tell me stories about some cards he had. And 59, he told me once when I was a teenager, I think, that he had a 59 Aaron. And so it's the yellow one. And so to me, I'm like, all right, like that's like another connection to that set, So then, importantly, that was the oldest Hank Aaron was his favorite player. My dad's favorite player. He did not have the rookie. And so the oldest card he had was 59 of Hank Aaron. So that's why it was special. So
I love the horizontal that they went back to it.
Yeah.
The vert as much as I love the 57s because of the photography, and maybe because I married a photographer, but the horizontal brings back some of that artwork and on the card itself.
You're talking like when they have the dual player cards and stuff in the set?
Yeah, the dual players in the 50s, in the 57 football and stuff like that. I do like the colors in those. I think they did up the card background better.
Yeah.
Than in the baseball.
And by the way, again, since we're on vintage, like I love, and I think like 56 gets some flack. I love 55, 56, and 60, the horizontal cards. And I love cards that have two images of the same player, like 54, where they have like the portrait and the action. And like it's a little weird, but like for cards I love like that, like Ernie Banks 54, I'm trying to get like the type 1 photo of both, like, and so you have like the swinging, photo and the portrait. And like I like the 56 Mantle to me, even though it's probably the easiest card of Mantle in that 50s to have like a higher grade. To me, it's like probably the most, other than 52 and 51 Bowman, but it's the most iconic. Like you show someone a 58 tops or 59 tops or a 57 tops Mantle, like they don't really, like they may never have seen that card, but 56 tops, it's like, oh, I know that card. And it's just so beautiful. So
Aesthetically, I'm just going to throw it out there. I think the 52 tops Jackie.
The red's crazy.
I mean, may I one day have the high grade, the color.
Crazy.
When you mentioned the color on the card, the first thing I thought of
is awesome. Yeah, the 52 Jackie, I could not agree more. That might be the coolest card in that set for sure. I mean, the Mantle with the blue is just the blue and yellow, the primary color, like that. How lucky or how brilliant that artist was at the time, to the yellow bat with the blue back. I mean, and that color they chose, for oil. I mean, it's just. But yeah, the Jackie red background is so cool. The Maze, and I'm gonna get a lot of crap for this. It's such a it's a beautiful card, but it's just not. It doesn't pop at all. The 52 tops.
Overrated.
Yeah, it's an unreal card. I mean, like
no, we're splitting hairs between some of the greatest cards ever.
Of course,
I mean, as I said here, saying the 52 Mantle's overrated.
Well, why is the card on your door like the Babe Ruth red from Gowdy?
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason. That card is what it is. It's probably because how beautiful the red background is. So
I'm a fan of the 33 Gowdy in general, especially the Sport Kings.
I love Sport Kings.
Yeah. The Jim Thorpe, I think is one of the coolest cards for one of the greatest athletes that people don't talk about.
Yeah.
He was Dion, he was Bo before their time.
Oh, he was the multi-sport. Yeah, no question.
Yeah.
Well, and actually my favorite card in the Sport King set's the Bobby Jones, the amateur golfer.
Yeah.
And US Carmel is also an amazing set with the red. Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Yeah. You and I can obviously do this all day.
By the way, I have an unopened pack of Sport Kings.
Ooh. Any temptation?
I thought about it. It's just so cool. I may never see one again. So no, probably not. But
yeah. All right. Well, if you find a second one, we'll renegotiate.
Yeah.
Printing. I had years 30 years ago, I worked in the printing world. The expectations of a printer are challenging, whether it's a book, much less a card. And I think it puts a lot of pressure on manufacturers, et cetera. And since the beginning of cards, by the way, not just modern. How much, if at all, does a grader have to take into consideration the techniques that produce the card versus what they're looking at?
Yeah. It's important. Like, for example, the paper that Topps used evolved over the years. So as a good example, just because it's a set near to my heart, like 75 they were using recycled paper. And so you get a lot of bumps and, kind of like, not a waviness, but kind of like an uneven surface. And, that is something that's factored in. I mean, you don't penalize as greatly. And I'm not a grader, to be clear, so I'm not speaking on behalf of the grading team, but just in my experience working here, that kind of stuff is taken into account. There's leniency for things that are pretty common. What would some other examples be? Like the cut. So I mean, I love rough cut edges. Like 54 Topps is my favorite rough cut. Like, and then you have 79 OP Chief hockey, like classic examples where like people, if I post a picture of one on Instagram, they're like, that's a 4. Like, look at the edge chipping. I'm like, no, that's the greatest thing. You just have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah. And that's how they cut those cards. That year, maybe it was wire cut instead of blade cut.
It was dull either way.
Right. Or yeah. Right. Or it could just been dull. Yeah, there's that. Another good example is ink. So like in 1915 Cracker Jack, we see pretty good variance in the color. Like it goes from like red to maroon, bright red to maroon. Another favorite, one of my favorites. That's the red. I guess the red. We all both love the red.
Oh, I had a Coke around me that I should have kept it. Yeah.
Well, the color matching with the PSA label helps too. But anyway, so like the Cracker Jack ink is interesting. Like those are all things that we, the grading team, takes into account for sure. Yeah.
All right, so let's get away from the grading team for a little while because I feel like everybody asked you to speak on their behalf.
Yeah, I won't. Yeah.
You talked about the holding company of collectors and all the different companies that fall in that holding company. How much if you were to split your pie, do you feel that I mean, I feel like when I multitask, I'm always one ball up in the air, one ball down, the tomorrow's fire, how do you, other than just relying on the people you've hired, how do you keep track of that many companies and some of the minutia that has to be decided upon at your level?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with the people. I mean, we have a really great team. Each person who leads those businesses is, highly capable, and the CEO effectively of each of those. And so most of the day to day is, pretty well handled. So I'm lucky in that I can kind of, engage where I think I can add value or they need my help, and that tends to be PSA. A little bit of PCGS, but mostly PSA, just because that's what I know and can, like instinctively or intuitively, like because I'm a customer, have been for many years, can help lend that perspective. But it's we do our, just like any business, we at the end of the day, this is a business too, and we, talk every week, sometimes every day, and updates and business reviews and planning sessions and budgets, and there's a lot of structure. It's a rather large company. I mean, we're like 1,800 employees now.
I was about, that's right. That's what I was hinting at.
Yeah, it's a rather large company, but I mean, we have. I mean, it's not nothing compared to like some of the big public companies, but for a company that plays with trading cards and coins, it's quite big. But we have a pretty good rigorous. The leadership team under me is very strong. So.
Well, that's a sign of those that do the hiring. So kudos to whoever recruited and brought them in, on you or anybody else. I always promise to land the plane on time. It's something I take pride in. We make it up in the air, but so I'm going to wrap this up with two questions. As a customer of PSA, what drives you the most nuts that you wish you could change that is feasibly just not happening anytime soon? And then secondly, as a customer of PSA, what is your favorite part about being a customer?
Okay, so on the first one, and it may actually happen sooner rather than later, is why my card got a certain grade. I want more transparency. Like if I thought it was a 9, but I got an 8 or a 7, like, why? And because I'm not a grader, you're not a grader. Like no one, like 99.9% of people in this hobby are not graders. However, 99% of people think they are. Think they are one.
We're all overgraders. I call it we're overgraders.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, getting a scale. I don't believe in subgrades anymore. I think it's cool. I'm not hating on it. I just don't believe in it for us. It's too much detail on the holder. However, I do think there are some things that we're going to try and experiment with this year that could provide more transparency or explanation, if you will, to the original submitter of a card as to why a certain grade was given. Your second question, what? Yeah, I would say the set registry. I get a lot of value as a customer of PSA from participating in the set registry. I spend an hour or two doing that. Yeah, I spend an hour or two doing that every night. I used to be, it's shifted. Like I used to be much more of like a player collector, like chasing inserts, like the pure 90s stuff. And then just like, opening boxes, all that stuff. And I still do a little bit of that, but like most of my time now, which I love, is, I'm doing I'm reorganizing my 75 Tops mini set with my 8-year-old, and like, that's freaking like,
and it's size appropriate now, which is good.
Yeah. Right. But I'm going like, it's so much fun. I have the set registry up on my computer. I put it on my TV. I'm like, okay, this line, it should be a 9. Go find it. Oh crap, that's an 8. Where's the 9? Oh, okay, it's over there. Okay, like all that stuff that's the set registry is probably the most rewarding. So,
well, very, very glad to hear the first news, and we'll look forward to that. On the second part, I have the Greg Maddox base registry run there. 54 Orioles team set, because first year in Baltimore for the Orioles, so I had to have the 54 team set, and I'm working on the Koufax run. So I am a registry fan myself. Yeah. In fact, this is heading over to you guys shortly.
Oh, the pen, Koufax pen. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's today's mailbag.
Love it.
All right. Nat, thank you for spending some time on Hobby News Daily. I hope you'll continue to give us a look and read and spread the gospel. We're heading on 1 year, and it's people like you that make the hobby fun. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
All right. I'll see you in the green room. To everybody else, thanks for watching. Catch you next time.